Measure 110, which decriminalized user amounts of pretty much every street drug you've ever heard of in Oregon, passed back in 2020 with 58% of the vote. These days, though, not so popular. Apparently, open drug markets and addicts shooting up in the streets of Portland and other places in our state, not to mention record overdose deaths, has changed the public's mind a little bit. An April 2023 survey by Portland-based DHM Research found most people polled felt Measure 110 made things worse. That's what the orange bar is showing you there. They felt it made things worse in terms of drug addiction and overdose, homelessness, and crime. The poll was an online poll of 500 Oregon voters. That same poll found that 63% of voters support bringing back criminal penalties for drug possession, but continuing to use the marijuana money that's diverted for 110 to pay for treatment programs. And a more recent poll by the respected Emerson College found that 56% of voters now think Measure 110 should be completely repealed, wiped off the books. 45% said, nah, leave it alone. The poll was done in late August and was paid for by a group that opposes decriminalizing drugs. So it does seem clear from the surveys that sentiment has shifted. And calls for a ballot measure to repeal it are in part or completely getting louder. So repeal it in part or repeal it completely, getting louder. Faced with that, the folks who organized support for the law in the first place, they've apparently decided it would be good for local politicians to take a field trip to see how great things can be if Measure 110 is just given the time. So they are going to Portugal. Yep, October 30th through November 3rd, according to the Oregonian newspaper. Now, in case you don't know, Portugal was the first country in the world to decriminalize user amounts of street drugs, and Oregon Health and Justice Recovery Alliance is a coalition of state and national groups who are organizing the trip. A spokeswoman told the newspaper that the trip will be paid for by private foundations whose missions and work focus on criminal justice reform. So who's going? Well, these people. Multnomah County Chair Jessica Vega Peterson, who said she's going to pay for the trip herself. Multnomah County District Attorney Mike Schmidt, State Representative Rob Nose, State Senator Floyd Prozansky, State Senator Kate Lieber, all Democrats, and State Rep Lily Morgan, who's a Republican. And according to the paper, about 10 others are going to go as well. I mean, why not? Who doesn't love a trip to Portugal in October? But here's the thing. We could have saved them all a lot of time and money. We already spoke to the guy that they're going to meet with. In fact, we've had him on our show twice. Last October, Dr. João Goal talked with me about his country's decriminalization. Portugal allowed 10 days worth of personal use of drugs starting back in the year 2000. Oregon's 110 is made after Portugal, modeled is what I was trying to say. Now, at the time, he told me that it's been a resounding success, but 9 months later, he was at Georgetown Law School in D.C., admitting the program having some trouble.
It is true that we are having some difficulties nowadays in supplying timely treatment without waiting lists, for instance. We have a visibility of disorganized users on the streets in Lisbon and in Porto, mostly in the big cities. And we are concerned about it.
So there you go. You're welcome. Everybody can just stay home. That's what's happening there. I guess they're probably still going to go. They'll hear Dr. Goal say that the problem is the country stopped funding treatment centers. When Portugal's decriminalization began, they could offer drug users treatment immediately, no waiting. But over time, he said the country stopped investing in treatment, and eventually there's now a long line, a long wait for help. And so addicts just don't go. And the cops have stopped citing people for drug use in public because, well, there's no consequences. Sound familiar? It'll be interesting to see what our local politicians bring back from their fact-finding trip. And here, by the way, is my opinion on this. I'm one of many who voted for Measure 110, and it's time for a change. It should be at least modified and maybe repealed, in my opinion. It seems to me this Portugal trip is a Hail Mary pass, if you will, a last-second chance by the folks who pushed Measure 110 to now save it. They're hoping the local politicians soak up enough success stories that they can come back home and evangelize to all of us about how incredible the power of decriminalization is, and somehow magically make all the despair that we see on our streets disappear. I got to tell you, I'm not buying it, and I don't think you should either. We gave this a try. The results? A disaster, a humanitarian tragedy. The Oregon Health Authority reports that nearly 1,300 people died from drug overdoses in Oregon last year. 1,300, that's roughly 3.5 people every day, all year long. It's not humane to let people chasing a high kill themselves on our streets as part of some well-intended social experiment. I hope the politicians who visit Portugal will look hard at the reality that is there now in the streets and ask themselves if that's really the future we want. Then again, they could also just hang out in downtown Portland and ask themselves how long they'll allow our current mess to go on. That's my opinion anyway. You don't have to agree with me, and the great thing is, a lot of times, a lot of you don't. Hey, that's fine. But you should communicate. Send us an email with your thoughts, will you? The address is thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail. The number's 503-226-5090. We may use your reply on our show tomorrow. It'll help all of us think more deeply about this issue.